let's talk about Sticky Note Guy. He's clearly got his own system for managing information. But if he works for me, well, I sure hope none of that information is like credentials, like security stuff. Hey, no, don't touch that. Wow, see what I mean? Man, accounting firms are home to a mountain of sensitive information. And today's sponsor, they're gonna give you a better way to manage access. It is Practice Protect, and it's a demo day because traditional password managers, well, I got a password manager. Oh, you do? Here, see? Password manager. Ooh, it is not enough to just leave security up to your team, okay? Take a look at this. I'm logged in. This is how your team accesses their apps with Practice Protect. Let's say I wanna log into QuickBooks. I'm gonna click on QuickBooks, machine goes burr, it will log me in, and that's it. You'll notice no credentials, no saving passwords to the browser. Using Practice Protect, Sticky Note Guy doesn't even know what the credential is. There's nothing to be written down. If I fire him, well, there's no passwords to change. We just turn off his centralized access inside of Practice Protect. Super smart. In fact, when I ran my firm, this is how my team accessed their apps. True story, I was a happy Practice Protect user. It's just a fundamentally better way to manage access for your team. So let's zoom out. What is this? Here's the login screen. My firm will have our own branded login page that the entire team uses to access all the apps that we use. It even supports passwordless logins. What you do is you actually just take your smartphone, you scan a QR code on your desktop login, and scanning that with your smartphone will log you in on desktop. And what you're seeing now here is centralized access to everything. You'll see this section is called company apps. You can organize this into groups like internal apps, government logins, banking, client credentials, oof. And you log in just by clicking any of these apps. So I no longer need to know the credential. In fact, my team won't even be able to see the credential. All these credentials are just managed by an admin on our team. Now, this icon here on Stripe, this icon means that this is a shared login. Not uncommon in accounting firms, you have a single login that you have to share. But even in this case, because my team is accessing the app via Practice Protect, I can see a log of all of the times my team members accessed it, when they accessed it, even what IP address it came from. And again, the huge win here is if someone leaves my team, well, there's no risk of them even knowing those passwords, no needing to reset passwords. You simply disable their access to Practice Protect. Now, back in the platform, let's take a look at the policies that we can enable. We can set up IP blocking. This means users can only access Practice Protect from a specific IP. For example, let's say I've got an offshore team, bunch of folks working out of a single office. They could only log in from that IP. So there's no way for them to leave the office and still somehow log into their apps. Even onshore, if I've got a static IP at my office, I could lock it down so that it only works from my physical office location. Now that's the most restrictive policy you could use. I can also use geo-locking. This will restrict logins from outside the country of the user, reducing your risk to international hacks. And this is where traditional password managers, while better than that, traditional password managers still do a bunch of things that don't really work in a business setting, like exposing all the credentials to your team. The notion that they can just see it. You just click a little eyeball, a little copy paste, and they've got that credential. It's all here. Somebody's gonna quit. I mean, there's nothing I can do with a password manager to keep them from grabbing all those credentials. With a normal password manager, I generally can't restrict a user's access either by region, by IP address, even by time of day. And if you've ever tried to do this with a traditional password manager, give like granular access to specific credentials, it's a real pain when you're managing a bunch of internal apps and a bunch of like client logins, because most password managers are just either one big pool of credentials or these vaults, which can be tricky to carve up across like different teams and different clients. Back in the platform here, let's hop over to users. I'm the one user in this environment. I can come over to activity and see every single app that I've accessed, when I accessed it, even from what IP address. And if we need to disable access for this user, it is simply a matter of checking one box to lock and hitting save. And in a single click, they can no longer access their apps. Compare that to the headache of just having to remove someone from every single app you've terminated them in. How many stories have we heard of somebody leaving a company only to find out that like 6 months later they still had access to something, right? Here you can do that in one click, be it your Office 365, your Google Workspace, your accounting apps, banking, client credentials. all that stuff in one checkbox. It's just a fundamentally better way to manage access in a way that's also compliant with the FTC rules that we have to follow. Now, Practice Protect does a bunch of things. We're mainly looking at their Access Hub here, but they got a bunch of training in Practice Protect University here. 18 hours of training covering topics like phishing, ransomware, emails getting compromised, and they've got a client trust pack. Basically, resources you can share with clients to get them to quit sending you sensitive documents over email and just try to keep them like on the straight and narrow following security best practices. And during onboarding, if you're in the US, Practice Protect will help you set up your WISP compliance documentation, which you are, by the way, required to have. I mean, I'm sure you've got yours, right? And you can grab that WISP here at any time. Practice Protect, honestly, a great example of there's a tool for that. Don't make this any harder than it has to be, particularly when it comes to putting sensitive credentials at risk. Load that stuff into Practice Protect, and you make your life easier, because managing credentials there is just much, much easier, while protecting your clients as well. Learn more about Practice Protect via the link in the video description. Thanks to them for sponsoring this week's demo day. And hey, we do this every Wednesday, man. Where you been? Showing off cool accounting firm tech. Check out this playlist up here, and man, you're about to see some things. Some good things. A few weird things, but mainly pretty good things.